Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Anderson. Mike Anderson. Sir. Mike Anderson here with the 1% solution. Living Motion Monogram. Welcome everybody to the live stream today. They're hearing an echo. I sure. So today we're going to be answering your guys' questions. Regards to Photoshop. Here. All right. That should be. There we go. All right. So yes, we're going to be talking to you guys and answering your questions about Photoshop and see if anything up here in regards to kind of how to do stuff. I know that I always get questions all the time about what, the different settings and what the different tools and stuff. It's insane how powerful pretty much every version for what we do, and even with doing graphics, it's a program based pretty much solely on doing photography and stuff, but because it has so many options, being able to pretty much open type of file type and saving it and all that, then so we're going to kind of get into it today, but want to thank we got Sue the DJs here. Thanks for joining us today, Coastal Event. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. We're going to get into your guys' as people arrive here. So, but to get started, I wanted to share something with you guys that I absolutely love and adore when it comes to let's see if we can here video that's been out for quite some time, and it's go on mapping. We have the facility who teamed up, company came in and installed. I tried. We're gonna look at it here, just to give you guys a little. You guys may have seen this video before. It's just a snapshot from itself. So the company who actually produces Projection Mapping Central. Hats off to them. Job on this. Stop messaging me. And we're gonna go to their videos here. You guys can't quite see it yet. Okay. And so go full screen here. And what they did is they teamed up with a facility and basically installed an unknown. At this point, it's an unknown. Oh, Mike's cutting in and out. All right, thanks, Sue. I appreciate that. Yeah, guys, let me know if in the chat if type of and eye on that. So here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let me know if it's breaking up still. Okay. Let's dot here, and it looks like it. I mean, my end, it looks like everything. But make sure. this won't cut us off here. Give it a shot. Okay, we'll see if that that actually kind of fixes anything particularly. So, and so what they did was they came into this facility and just lit this place up with. Now, as I was saying there, looking at the video, I am not seeing all the projectors, but we're going to point some of them out. And what they were able to do is basically make kind of what we do with cake mapping itself. Let's go ahead and, you guys are saying it's still breaking. So forgive my echo here a second. So forgive my echo here a second. All right, I think. Let's see. All right. And I want to go ahead and we're going to try out this. Not sure why we've got some of that echo going. All right. And I want to go ahead and we're going to try out this. Not sure why we've got. Okay. Let's see if that fixes things. I really do apologize about that, guys. Yeah, so the lighting, I mean, here's the thing. None of this is lighting. This is all just projection. They're able to kind of design any lighting elements that they want just by the projectors that are in this room. Now, let's play this back once again here. And they basically turned every wall into video screen. And it's just, it looks spectacular. It looks amazing. Job on this. And as we bring this, I'm going to bring this window down and kind of show you guys a couple photos here. So this is the room itself. The room, and I'm looking around the room, and if you guys can take a look at this photo and just kind of start to see if you can see and count the projectors that are in this. Because I'm going to help you out here just a second here. There, we got a little bit of highlighting here, and just in this photo here, we've you know, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projectors. And you know, to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure if, you know, they're probably using a combination of different projectors, and what projectors. It almost appears that almost all of these are. My guess would be these lower ones are for the ceiling, maybe bounced off in order to project onto the ceiling. If we go to our next image here, here's another one. Kind of shows a bit more of the setup itself. Kind of see that in these areas here, it's you know, highlighted there. So you know, and there's 5 on this wall alone. So it's, you know, we know that probably at a minimum we're looking at 10 projectors, maybe 12. This room, not to mention this back wall. What's even in these? Definitely hats off to them. Great job on execution, and it looks like it's more of a permanent install when it comes to that facility. Something that they can offer hands. As we go through, let me know, guys, if the audio got fixed or not. We've got Robert, welcome. Audio is low. Max says audio is low. So let me know if it's low or if it's breaking up. It's getting worse. Try and get that fixed before we get into stuff. Right. And you know, let me know in the chat, guys, what version of Photoshop are you guys using? I know it dates back all the way back to like CS, and I was able to download quite a few different versions so that hopefully I'll show you guys tips and stuff with. Oh, nope, you're it's like audio seems better. Nope. Not okay. try one more thing here. Okay. That right now, but let's see. We're gonna give this a try. Again, I do apologize about the there are still audio quality issues. Still trying to tune everything in so that we can give you guys the absolute best presentation on this. So, and that this will all help. Well, we'll try that. Okay, so yeah, we've got CX. Michael's got CS6 and CC, CS3. And Michael, you're very welcome for that X2 mount. He's building his empire of of projectors and mounts. It's he's going to be able to do quite a bit of stuff with those. I think what you up to? I get 2 Optima 515s. You've also got a Optima 416. Not sure what else you got there, if my memory serves me correctly. So yeah. Definitely, guys, if you are with us in the live chat and stuff and you've got questions you want answered when it comes to Photoshop, make sure you guys put those questions in. We're going to show you a couple different kind of cool things that you can do in regards to monograms themselves. And for example, like we're going to go and open up this here. One of my favorite tools to use, and I know a lot of people sometimes dread this, is that when it comes to, there we are. When it comes to you know, designs and images that they get, sometimes it's almost, you know, it's reverse. And one of the things that I do as a service, which is like, you know, basically taking a logo and reversing it or make it into a projection ready files for people. But it's not that difficult to be able to do. First thing is that we've got our, you know, this is what was sent to me that I'm doing for our customer here. And the tool that I want to show you guys is something where it's called the Magic Wand tool. And if we can, I don't know if we're not going to be able to zoom in on this quite so much, but basically we've got our little magic wand with our little sparkles around it on the corner here. So it's on this one, it happens to be the 4th one down. And what this allows you to do is actually select like either a color or you know, particular part of the image, as long as it's kind of a continuous image. So if it fades from one color to the next, it really is going to concentrate on one color, but there are some other options that you're able to do. So one of the things I'm going to do here is we're going to duplicate this. So I'm going to zoom in for you guys just so you can see some of these options here. All right. Because up in the corner, we're going to see some options right up here at the top. And a few things I want to point out. First off, we've got our tolerance. Now, tolerance is going to be show you guys kind of the difference in this. This number is kind of 1 through 100. And so, if, for example, if we did a 90, say a tolerance of 90, this is kind of a bad image to show tolerance just because it is black and white, and that's the best image that you can possibly use to be able to cut things out. But if we did a tolerance of, let's say start at 1, and we clicked on our white, you're going to notice here as I zoom in, we're not quite getting, a nice fine line around our letters here. And what that's doing is it's picking up kind of the subtleties in the shading on these letters. So as we go up in tolerance, I'm going to go to 40 here, and we click it again. Now all of a sudden we're getting a little bit better. As if we zoom in here on the letters, I think you guys will be able to see pretty clear here the little kind of black dot marks here, and a lot of that is just caused from shading on the filings on the file itself. So that's why that tolerance is going to be so important. Now if we bump that up to say 90, and again we're going to reset it by clicking it once again, now we've pretty much got a really fine line. The other thing though is that you'll notice that it is actually creating lines and cutting out the image around the entire image. So we're able to select just the white color, and the way we're able to do that, again, up here at the top, and one of the options is contiguous, and this, well, if it's clicked, then basically what'll happen is when I click the white, it's only going to do the continuous white area. So if we've got letters like the O and the R in here, it didn't select the white on the inside here. So if we wanted to be able to select all the white, and sometimes when you're doing logos, so you'll probably be able to see this a little bit better here if I kind of zoom this out a little bit more.
Oh my God.
Big thanks, events by MV. Thanks for subscribing, man. I really appreciate you. And don't forget, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure hit that subscribe button. Your name's gonna pop up right up here on the right above us, and it definitely helps out the channel. So I appreciate that. So now, when we click on this, if I hit delete, something else I want to point out to you guys here. On the right side, one of the things you'll notice every once in a while is our in the layers. So usually the layers are going to be off to the right here. I'm going to try and make this bigger for you guys. And so our first layer, it says background, and there's a little lock next to it. Basically means that, yeah, that layer's locked. We can't really do much to it, but if you just click on the lock itself, it will allow you to unlock it. Now in older versions of Photoshop, there usually is going to be an option up top here. There is kind of a workaround to that. So if for some reason this image is locked and you just can't unlock it, you can always right click on that image and go ahead and just duplicate layer, hit OK, and then go ahead and just delete the locked layer. And that will allow you to start working on our unlocked layer, which will allow you to make changes to it. So now when we use our magic wand and click on our image here and I hit delete, you're going to notice that, oops, I zoom in for you guys, that around our logo itself, it's basically translucent. We've got our checkerboard pattern, but inside the R here, we still have the white. Now this is really helpful when you have logos that are actually have white in them that we want to maintain and keep on the inside. Now if we're doing an image like this where we just maybe want to change the color from black, we know we're going to do white for the event, that's where I'm going to hit Control Z in order to come back a step. That's where we're going to uncheck our contiguous at the top, and once we reset our magic wand, click it again and hit delete. Now it's actually deleted all the white out of our monogram design itself. So now we've got it to where, cool thing is we've got just black image. That black image doesn't help us when it comes to projecting, because usually we have a black background, right? So there's a couple things. First, we need to make our slide, and we're going to go ahead and start a new file here and go ahead. We usually use the 1080 by 920 and set our resolution at 300. That is the wrong aspect ratio. File, new. Width. So our width is 1920, our height is 1080, and our resolution is 300. And we work in RGB. There we go. So now we got this set up. Our background is black here. Let me bring our layer down here. And by selecting our layer from our last slide down here, make sure that's selected, we can drag it over and just drop it on top. So now we see that we've got our design up here, except that it's not going to do us much good for the event because it is black. So the next step I'm going to show you guys is something you can use called color overlay. And then a couple different variations of how you can do this. You can either down towards your layers off to the very right side, where they're, if as long as it's not where there's, you don't want to click on the name of the layer itself, but just to the right of that. You can double click and it's going to bring up our layer style menu. And that is where, if we select our color overlay here, option, then it's going to allow us to select whatever color we want. And really we can do any color. So obviously we like to work in white, so we just go up to the corner there. We do have some, you know, looking at this when we transfer these, sometimes we have a little bit of jagged lines here. And in order to, when I do the service here, sometimes I will, most of the time, I'm going to come in and clean all this up. And it's pretty easy as long as you select that file or that layer itself. And any areas where you kind of see, like, we got this, we zoom in on this H here, we can see we've got something sticking out here. We can use our rectangle marquee selection tool here. And hit delete. And for most of this, I mean, you don't have to go too incredibly precise on it. You want to go as clean as possible. But the important thing is to some of the, you know, depending on the resolution you're actually projecting these at and how big you're projecting them. I'll usually clean up the lines here. Sometimes we'll have to add, if we have to add to it, if we look down here at the G, we got a little area here that I might want to like add to. That's where, if you're working with a very precise color on this, you can use our little eyedropper tool off to the left side. I can find it here. All right. So in your menu, you're gonna see your color boxes on the left and the bottom, towards the bottom here. And as we click on them, it's gonna bring up our color picker. And if you just go to the image itself, then that, you know, color picker itself kind of appears there, that little black dot. And if we click on that, it's gonna select that particular color. So we know we've got that color selected. We're gonna go, we can highlight that area that we want to paint and select our little paintbrush. Just kind of fill in that area there. I don't want to take away too much of the you know, design element, but I just want it to look cleaner there. So there we have in just a matter of moments, we've kind of reversed our images. We have made it to where it is it's able to be projected instead of you know, projecting black for our image. And on top of that, then at this point, all we have to do is save it as like a JPEG image and get ready for the event. So test it out ahead of time, make sure it looks great. So that's one way that we can just eliminate and reverse a logo that, you know, is designed for an event or for a company, because they're usually designed for like using on the web where it's got a white background, and we're actually using the black ones. We want to welcome Chase Shaw. Thanks for jumping in here. Appreciate you being in our live stream here. Rhythm Masters is back. Welcome, Mr. DJ Adam. Appreciate you being here. All right, and then so yeah, you guys tend to seems like you know quite a bit about Photoshop there. All right, so we've got, that's one of the little tips that we've got for being able to reverse our images. We also get questions like, you know, what do we usually design? What elements, or as far as the file size itself, and you know, kind of coming back to our start menu here. You know, I usually will do the designs in 1920 by 1080. If I'm gonna be projecting in very large images on doing like a picture wall or something larger than like 20 feet, then I might go into kind of more the Ultra HD settings, which would be like 3840 by 2160 height. But I'm always maintaining that aspect ratio, so I know that it's no matter what. I basically just design on a higher resolution to give me, you know, cleaner lines. It does make for a bigger file size, and you want to make sure that if you're using just something like a basic media player, you're not going to have any issues with that. So we've got the reason we, in the color mode, we use RGB is because if it's CMYK, which is one of our other options here, CMYK color, that doesn't allow you, when you're working in there in that file format, it does not allow you to save the image as like a PNG file. So if I was using this Monogram and wanting it to have a translucent background, obviously first thing I do is just eliminate our background here by just turning off the layer, and you can do that by hitting the little eye icon next to the layer itself. Then we've got, I'm going to add we're going to go ahead and put in a little drop shadow in here so you guys can see it a little bit better. Well, it's white. All right, and then at that point, now we've got our you know, translucent background. We can go ahead and, in order to preserve that, you do have to save that file as a PNG file. So we're going to select PNG and save this as just Monogram 1. Now, if you're just showing it as a JPEG image on with a media player or something, I wouldn't suggest saving it as a PNG file. If you're using like our Chaos or Grand VJ, then it's a really great idea to save it as maybe a PNG file, because that will, you know, maintain a black background unless you put like a video file behind it. Because if I open this up, a lot of times in, you know, picture viewer, so the picture viewer apps and stuff like that, it will automatically add in a background. And if, you know, set as, let's see if there is an option here. A lot of times these will have the option of setting what's going to be your background color. And if for some reason by default it's set up as a white background, then all of a sudden now you can't see that image because the media player or whatever you're working with is set as a white background default. So if we continue to use that black background, and that is our original. There we are. So if we continue to use our black background on this, I'm going to turn that back on so we can. Then no matter what, when you save this as a PNG file or even as a JPEG image, then it's going to go ahead and preserve that black background no matter what. It will always show it because it's there in the file. We basically use translucent background when it comes to using the like Grand VJ, where we're going to put video, like a video motion file behind it, and we don't want it to block that out. So we've got that. Another question that we end up getting is how do we resize these? And I think one of the secrets to this is to, I'm going to go ahead and open up. We're going to go ahead and do, I'll just bring up one of our templates. And let's go with that. All right, so we've got our template here. And one of the easiest ways to do this is obviously go in, make your edits. So whatever these may be. So we change the names, and then once you have your edits done, what you'll want to do is select the layers that are in the design. Don't select the background. Just the layers that are in the design. So in this we've got we've got our names, turn them off and on there, and we've got our design here, and these are also in separate layers. So we've got our bottom, and we've got our ribbon or our scroll there. And if I select all of these, and you can do it by clicking on one, and if you hold down the control key, you just start clicking on the other layers that you want to select all together. You can right click then once you first release your control key, and find the merge layers option. And the reason for this is that as you resize this, if you didn't merge the layers or at least rasterize the layers, then all of our work on the bevel and emboss that we do around the letters here, that ends up basically resizing with it. So now all of a sudden we have a smaller image, but yet the bevel and emboss is going to be still at the same settings, which means it's going to be larger, and it's just going to look different than what our original design looked like. So now with our image flattened out here and merged together, we can, if we hit Control T, that shows our box of what the size of this image is. And so the first thing we do is I'll save this file as the monogram but as large, and then hit Control T. And a couple things you can do, you can if you hold down Shift and then just grab one of the corners, as you make it smaller, it will maintain that aspect ratio. So it won't, if you don't hold down Shift key, what might end up happening, we'll do this again, is then all of a sudden it'll allow you to go up or to the left or right, and that is going to alter your image itself. So we can hit enter, and if you ever want to go back, just hit Control and Z. That's our shortcut for taking one step back. So then we've made another size. We've saved that as our next file.
Who used to call me on my cell phone?
Oh, look at that. Wow. Dean Spy, thank you so much. Big tip. Let's see. I don't think you left a message on there. Really appreciate that. Thanks for donating to the stream, man. $20. You are a champion. Really appreciate that, guys. Wow, man. You're the man. You were the tip of the stream right now. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Hopefully you enjoy the content here. We can keep it going, and that always helps out with keeping the streams going and giving you guys a lot of free content. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, man, definitely if you have some questions, ask them in the chat, and we'll get them answered for you. Really appreciate that, Dean Spy. So now we've got our monogram itself. We're going to make it another size here. Ooh, another little tip for you guys too. See, you'll notice this little blue line. This doesn't actually show up in our files. This is just in our rulers. And so if you right at the top and left side of our screen, let me go ahead and bring this down a little bit for you. I have this set on full. I want it smaller. I'm gonna have to. We're getting to the point. I might have to call my friend Randy for tech support. There we are. No, that didn't get it. All right. So we made just a little bit smaller for you guys here. And so in order to see these rulers here, if I up at the top in the left side, first you want to make sure they're activated. And you could do that just by going up to the top of the window here, selecting your view, and look for rulers. Just make sure that they've got the check mark next to it. And those will pop up. Once they're on there, you can right click on the ruler, and that's going to give you those options of doing, whether it's pixels or inches, centimeters. We're, working in pixels here. This is one of the Ultra HD monograms. So this one is the 3840 width in pixels instead of the 1920. So, and then one of the things you can do is if you just click on the ruler itself, on either one of the sides. So if you click on the top, it's going to give you our horizontal line. And then at that point, we can go ahead and, find our center point. We know that this is let's see, what are we? We are working with 2160. So what we want to do, let's find our 1070 here to find right about center. And then once we've got our little crosshairs there, that just helps with placing this to where when we hit Control T there and resize, we can go ahead and line that up. So as I zoom in, you guys are going to see just on the image itself, we've got a little crosshair here in the middle that we can line up with that. And that'll just keep our image centered when we are resizing, and keeping it there for to make it look right when we go to the next file size itself. Howie, welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you being here, man. All right. Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought you guys would have these questions ready for me. I thought you guys would have a lot of questions about Photoshop itself. So I'm hoping I'm giving you guys some tips that you didn't know about. But again, if there's, you've had problems in the past, or you're wondering how to, what you can end up using, please let me know. I'd definitely love to get those questions answered for you guys. Where is, I also want to go over with you guys some of the options here.
Oh my God.
All right, so I want to show you guys some of the tools as well that we've got available here. We talked a little bit about the different settings that we have. If we go back to our, original one that we kind of made here, and I'll zoom in here on the letters, we talked a little bit about our layer styles. And when it comes to design work, one of the things that, a couple different aspects that I use a lot, one is Bevel and Emboss, and that option, as we see it here, is going to give us kind of a little bit more of a 3D look, or even a little bit more of a softer edge to it. And I use this a lot if I want the image to just kind of not look completely flat. But when you select it, Bevel and Emboss, here pretty soon I'm going to have some real detailed tutorials available to you guys that you can click on that'll have these one at a time, and that way you can go back to them whenever you want. But our one of our top options here under style. We've got outer bevel, we've got inner bevel emboss, pillow emboss, and stroke emboss. And all of these just do a different effect. So as this is our outer bevel here, you can see that, whoops, let me go back to it here. On our image here, basically, as I increase the size, you can see it basically creates our effect on the outside of our letters. Our inner bevel obviously is the inside. And then we've also got like soften. So if I take soften all the way out, then you can really see, we can also control the depth on how drastic that effect is. I usually run the depth quite high if I want it to be a very strong kind of outline to it. If you have very, very clean edges, this tends to look really, really nice. But if you're working with kind of an image like this where we don't have the original file, or we're not using original fonts that we created, then you're not going to get quite as good of a image. So you can see that here it kind of gives us a little bit of jagged edges. But if we went back to our other template here, let's see if I can go back some steps. We'll open up another one. And we've got we'll work on Stephanie here at the top. Hope all of you guys had fun this weekend. Hopefully you were busy doing lots of events. I'll share with you guys the monogram design we did this past weekend here in a second. And so for Stephanie here, I'll bring up the our layer styles and our bevel and emboss is what we're looking for here. And so our depth is set quite low here on this one because I wanted it a little bit more round. If we increase that, now all of a sudden we have more of a drastic effect. Some of these are a little hard to see unless you kind of zoom out, but hopefully I'll position this where we can see a little bit of a before and after as compared with William just below it. And then as I increase our size, it's just going to increase that bevel there. So we bring it down to 0, and that's minimum that we can go. If you go to 1 and it's still too drastic, then just kind of bring down the height or the depth field, because that will go from 1 to 1,000%. And then you've got some other stuff, and so you've got like shading. Shading can be important on the overall effect. And with shading, we can actually control, what angle. As I change this, I'm going to go the other side. So now the shading's more towards the top or more towards the bottom. And that's just by, adjusting the actual angle of the shading. You've also got like kind of gloss contours as we change that. And that's one of the things, experiment with this. See what looks really good on your particular image itself. Some of these will kind of shade it a little bit differently, and some of these will look better for certain situations. So we've got our bevel and emboss. We've also got like drop shadow, works really great to add depth to it, but obviously you have to be working with something that's got a lighter background, which we rarely do with monograms. So we don't get an opportunity to use drop shadowing as much unless we are doing, say, a monogram where, let's see here, we've got, this was 37, so let's close this out. And I think on this one, you guys are going to be able to see where I'm actually using quite a bit of the shadowing. And so under our text, we've got in order to do this kind of metallic finish, I'm using Bevel Emboss. I'm using a stroke, which is an outline that we see, and I'll like if I take stroke off now, then we see it just there's a slight subtle change, but it gives us a little bit of a glow on it. Our gradient overlay is what gives us that texture that we like for the overall image. And then our drop shadow, if I take that out, you see all of a sudden it goes completely away, and it gives us just a different effect on those words. So since it's on top of a color, by adding drop shadow in here, it adds a lot more depth and makes it look like those the letters are kind of coming off of the banner itself. As we take our opacity out of the drop shadow itself, then it lightens it up a little bit if we just don't want it quite as strong. And then we also can control like the distance. So we want it to appear farther off. It's floating a little bit more off, then that will allow us to do that. Or whether the size of the drop shadow, we can increase the size, and that basically give us a little bit of a softer edge on it. So all these things are gonna contribute to designing and creating an amazing looking monogram for your clients, so that it doesn't just look completely flat. And take it step by step. Again, that's part of the creative process. I know you guys can do this. That's the whole point of Living in Motion Monograms, is that I wanted, I told people I'm in the business of putting myself out of business. I don't want to have to design these for people for your entire career. I want you to be able to have the opportunity and the knowledge set of being able to do this for yourself, because I know you can do it. It just, you take it that step by step, and watching the tutorials, hopefully I can make it a little bit easier for you guys. And that then when clients come to you and go, oh, I really want to do this, and all of a sudden in your head, you're like, yeah, we can do that. We can make that happen for you guys. That's, having that creative license to be able to kind of bring their vision into reality for their event is just, it's definitely a little bit self-gratifying, but being able to provide that service for your clients in their eyes is definitely a big sales perk and sales point that you guys can use for your events. So now, Michael, are you going to have these templates on? Asked, so we're going to have these templates on the update disk. They are already out. If you have the tools disk, tools. Here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, if you have the tools disk, it's available at livingmotionmonograms.com. There's 50 designs on the disk itself. If you don't have 50 designs, then what you need to do is simply just send me an email with you holding the disk case itself. Little selfie with you in the disc, and make sure you're smiling. I get some all the time, look like mugshots. And email it over to info@livingmotionmonograms.com, and I'll get you set up to where you can download the most current files available, and that will have, let's see here, should be able to see them. So here's our new ones here, and I'll just show the samples. And so you will end up having all of all 50 of these designs. If you don't have 50, that means you just don't have the update yet. Now, once you buy the tools disc, nobody's ever had to purchase the updates. I've always made those available for free for our tools family, and they will always be free for our tools family. So as new designs come out, we will be able to notify you and let you know, hey, we've got an update. Go ahead and download the new designs. And I try and do those annually, and keep some fresh and new ones coming out. So if you don't have those, make sure you guys send me an email, let me know. And if you're interested in these are all set up, basically all of these designs are set up as Photoshop templates, kind of like what we see here, where you can just go in, make the changes on the names, readjust them, change the font, do whatever you want to do with them, and be able to start designing. Basically, I just did all the work for you so that now you've got 50 new designs for your company, that make it really easy to offer them for your couples. Also, I made the website pickmymonogram.com. We'll also put these links in the description below in the video following the stream. And basically, it's a site that you can send your clients to in order for them to pick out their monogram design. So when they do go to Pick My Monogram, it's set up. Basically, it's a website where there is no pricing. There is no, branding on it. And it allows them to select, their static design. When they tell you, hey, we want number 31, then what you can either do, you have the two options of then just going to Living Motion Monograms. And you'll notice that when we go to Living Motion Monograms, if you do need to order that image and have me do it for you, then you can go ahead and just purchase, all the static images are $20 and the motion monograms are $30. Some people they get the hang of it and they do the static images for their event, but they still aren't, caught up with doing motion. And so they might, still just order the motion monograms. Now the motion monograms are on the disc. All 10 of these, except that there are a couple. Monogram 6 and Monogram 10 are After Effects templates. You're going to need to use After Effects in order to edit those, and then the rest of these you can use Photoshop to edit the image or the names themselves. But then you will need video editing software in order to put those together, which is really important. The disc does not include any software, so you do need Photoshop in order to make the changes and edits, but any version of Photoshop will work. And so hopefully that will be quite helpful to you guys. And then if you need, I can also make available to you, if you just send me an email at info@livingmotionmonograms.com, I'll send you guys a link to download all the static images here as JPEGs and the motion monograms as video files for testing, playing around with them, or just having them available for your meetings to where you can show clients what some options are. And then, be able to let them select the one that they want. And if you need to change the font and the names and stuff, then you can also do that. But all the fonts in these are pretty standard and available on the disc for you as well, just to make life a little bit easier for you. So yeah, that's all available. Make sure, Mike, check them if you don't have them. We'll get you those updates and everyone else those updates as well for free. Can Photoshop Elements do basic edits? Photoshop Elements can really do almost everything that we use it for here. I have the service where I pay monthly, but it allows me to download all the different versions in case I need to help someone on their version. But it's just a matter of finding when you guys first load up Photoshop. One of the things that I recommend is it's going to ask you, are you a beginner? Are you advanced? Always select like advanced, because unfortunately if it's a beginner, it just has like some preset buttons and it hides a lot of the toolbar stuff, so it's hard to kind of follow along. And that's where those tools come in handy once you kind of learn where they're at, and that's where I'm going to help you guys out. Then it's going to be a lot more beneficial to you. So but we'll get you to that point. But yeah, I don't like it when it hides those different tools that are extremely useful, kind of like our layers and stuff. You have to click through a bunch of menus in order to add them onto your images. If you got the disc as a download, Dean, then just let me know. I can do it. It's easy for me to do a search on where the transaction stuff, and I'll get you taken care of. But let me know in the email, and I'll look for you there. If you have a receipt or something, that always speeds things up. But I can always find it for you. I'll make sure you're taken care of. Robert wants to know, how do we play motion monogram at an event? We've done a couple different things. One of the latest and easiest things is there's another video in the playlist. Look at the Asus PC stick. It's something I showed how to use, and it's in the playlist, so it's ready for you to watch. And that is just it's a Windows 10 PC just that plugs into the back of your projector, and I think that's one of the easiest ways. And I've also talked about some software on there that really help out. But then if you're doing a motion monogram, you just use Windows Media Player and loop it. It does a phenomenal job on a loop, and it's pretty much, it's seamless. We don't have those jittery issues at the end of the clip as we sometimes have with the other media players that we're messing with. So that, helps out, dramatically if you don't want to plug another computer into it. And it's like I think it was $120 now. It's but then the possibilities are endless. We can use that thing for like doing PowerPoint or showing anything. You can load anything you want on it with, because it's Windows 10. So it's huge help on that. Mike wants to know, is there any way for us to extend the falling rose petals so they don't see the little break? Yeah, that's going to be the other catch, is that sometimes when you're working with video clips, what he's talking about here is, if I go in, let's see which one it was. I think it's, here we are. And I'm in Windows Media Player here. So I'm going to let you guys know we've got, when this, this clip's about 20 seconds long. So when we get to the end of this clip, and it's coming up here, we got 5 seconds. And 2, 1, here's the end, and then it starts over. So when it comes to the end of the clip, it jolts into to the beginning of the clip again. Some motion loops are seamless, some are not. So when it comes to like the rose petals, when I'm doing a monogram with the rose petals, what I may end up doing is kind of overlapping it, so there's a slight fade, just a fade between the beginning and the end of the clip, instead of using the loop function in the like Sony Vegas. So I'll actually put them and overlap them by about 2 seconds, and so it just kind of fades from one set of rose petals to the other, and then you just don't see it that often. And then you also have other video, like for example, like this one. This is what's considered a seamless loop. So this is also this is a 15-second clip, and I'll show you where the it's going to loop. Here we come to the end. 3, 2, 1. It just looped, and we didn't see it because the beginning and the end of the clip is the exact same. And when it's different, that's when we have that little hiccup on it. So that's something we have to look for in those clips, and I'll show you guys on maybe another stream, like if we're using clips that are not, say, like we couldn't use it for the rose petals falling, because if one of the tricks that I use is that I can reverse the clip so that then the beginning is now also the end, and then it resets. But then what we'd see is the rose petals falling, and then the rose petals falling upwards, and that's what we don't want. So certain designs will allow us to do that and some won't. So hopefully that helps. Oh, Robert, yeah, no worries. I did answer your questions. How do I play motion monograms at the events? And the video is going to be available, but just as a short answer, just look. You can go back and watch this video again later, and I'll explains a little bit more. But look in the playlist for the Asus TS10, computer stick, and that there's a whole video on it. I think that might be your answer that you're going to be looking for there. So, all right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for. If you guys haven't already, look, we've got we're up to 202 subscribers. We want to bump that number up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out. We've got a lot of people here right now. If you haven't already, hit that like button on this video, so to let people know, hey, you got some great tips out of this video. And then so we've got the subscribe. If you want to be notified of future live streams, we usually do this every Monday, but sometimes I'll just jump on and do something spontaneous. Then you can be alerted of those live streams. But once you subscribe, off to the right side of that is a little bell. Click on that, turn it blue, and it's going to notify you anytime we go live for a live stream. If you guys want to join us, because we'd love to have you there. You cannot subscribe twice. Sometimes that's why you'll see the numbers go up and down there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this live stream. Check us out on Facebook. Make sure join our group, Living Motion Monograms, on Facebook, or the 1% Solution group on Facebook, and we'll get you guys approved and in those. Or check out the website, livingmotionmonograms.com, where we have some more tutorials, more information, and even suggestions on equipment such as the X1 or X2 projector mount, and those training DVDs that are also available to you guys if you're interested, along with the tools disc, which has all the Monogram templates on it. You guys, hopefully have a great week. Rock those receptions this weekend, and we will see you guys on the next stream. Again, thank you so much for coming out, and we'll catch you guys later. Have a great week.